Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a story that literally defined the modern romance genre. Yep, we're talking about Nicholas Sparks' absolute classic, The Notebook. But hey, we aren't just here to rehash the plot. We're going to break down the anatomy of this story. We want to figure out exactly why this narrative hits millions of readers right in the heart, and how it morphs from your typical summer romance into this incredibly profound look at memory, sacrifice, time, and just ultimate devotion. So settle in, because this explainer definitely packs an emotional punch.
I want you to really stop and think about this for a second. What if your first love never truly left your heart? What if years went by, people changed, and your whole life headed in a completely different direction, but that one person still felt like home? Well, that right there is the core emotional anchor of The Notebook. By dropping this super intimate question right at the start, the story just grabs you. It sets up these massive emotional stakes before we even catch the characters' names.
Section 1. A small town summer. So, to really get why this story works, we have to start right where two totally different worlds collide in a quiet 1940s town. And that brings us to a really stark class divide. On one side, we've got Noah Calhoun. He's a simple country boy, quiet but deeply passionate. And on the other side, Allie Hamilton. She's beautiful, incredibly smart, and comes from some serious family money. She is exactly the kind of girl who seems completely out of Noah's league. But you know what? That unlikely matchup is exactly what makes that initial spark so addictive. On paper, there is just no way these two should work.
But man, their summer romance felt like magic, precisely because it completely threw those social rules out the window. And honestly, it felt real. It wasn't some flawless fairy tale. It was messy. They argued, they teased each other, they constantly pushed each other's buttons, but underneath all that friction, a rock-solid connection. Noah showed Allie this peaceful, meaningful life, far away from all the stuffy expectations of high society. And for the very first time, Allie actually felt understood, not just looked at. He saw her for who she was. It completely grounds the story in something we can all relate to.
Section 2. Separated by reality. You know, a summer romance exists in this perfect little bubble, but eventually the pacing shifts and reality hits hard.
The societal pressures of the 1940s come crashing down on them. Allie's parents are absolutely not on board. For them, the math is simple. Noah doesn't have money, which means he isn't successful enough to take care of their daughter's future. It's harsh, but those class expectations act like a massive wedge. The pressure systematically crushes their summer dream, and Allie is forced to leave town. Talk about setting the stage for profound heartbreak.
365. Just think about the sheer dedication wrapped up in that number. Noah writes a letter to Allie every single day for a whole year. I mean, imagine loving someone so fiercely that you refuse to throw in the towel, just constantly reaching out, day after day, even when you're getting absolutely nothing but totally crushing silence in return. But here's the kicker. That silence, it wasn't even Allie's choice. Her mother steps in and intercepts every single one of those 365 letters. And that creates this devastating double misunderstanding. Noah slowly starts to believe that Allie just forgot all about him, while Allie is sitting there thinking no one ever bothered to reach out and just moved on. It is an absolute masterclass in tragic storytelling. So let's look at how this distance really calcifies. We kick off with that unforgettable summer in the 40s. 1 year later, we hit the tragedy of those 365 unanswered letters. And then, time just kind of takes over. Years pass, life inevitably pushes them further and further apart, circumstances change, and eventually Allie gets engaged to another man. It really seems like life has just completely moved on. Which sets up this incredible contrast between Allie's new fiancé and Noah. The fiancé is quite literally everything our parents wanted: successful, handsome, safe, and totally predictable. He's the comfortable future. But Noah represents all those buried memories, raw, unfiltered passion, and the intense pull of unfinished business. So when Allie unexpectedly crosses paths with Noah again after all those years, it creates a massive internal crisis. That comfortable life she built is suddenly head-to-head with her undeniable past.
Section 3. The iconic reunion. This brings us right to the turning point we've all been waiting for, where the dam finally breaks.
The story doesn't rush this part at all. It builds the tension flawlessly. We get Allie returning to the old house Noah spent years rebuilding. We get these incredibly tense, quiet moments out on the lake. We listen in on these deep, honest conversations as they try to unpack years of misunderstandings. Every single moment is just loaded with emotion, building straight up to the cinematic peak of the whole story, the famous storm.
Two people standing soaking wet in the pouring rain, finally stripping away all the polite defenses and saying the thing they've been hiding for years. It wasn't over. It still isn't over. Wow, it's a legendary line, and it hits so hard because it universally captures just how beautifully stubborn real love can be. It's proof that some connections literally cannot be washed away by time or distance.
But realizing that, it doesn't make things easier. It makes them 100 times harder. Allie is now staring down the most agonizing choice of her life. Does she choose the comfort and safety of her fiancé, who, let's be honest, is a good guy who did nothing wrong? Or does she choose the passionate man her heart absolutely refused to let go of? It's a brilliant reminder that love isn't simple. It's complicated, and sometimes making the right choice hurts like crazy.
Section 4. The heartbreaking twist. Okay, if the story wrapped up right there, it'd be a great romance, but this next shift, this is what makes it a masterpiece.
Let's dive into this framing device because it is just pure genius. The older man reading the notebook, that's Noah, and the elderly woman listening to him, who is suffering from severe memory loss, that's Allie. The tragedy here hits you right in the gut. Imagine loving someone your entire life, fighting through class wars and years of being apart, just to end up watching them slowly forget who you are.
And that brings us to the ultimate proof of exactly who Noah is. His devotion is unwavering. He sits there and reads their love story aloud to her. He waits so patiently for her to remember him, and when she finally does, even if it's just for a fleeting second, he cherishes those priceless moments. He essentially fights for her memory again and again and again. It is deeply tragic, but it completely transcends your standard romance tropes.
Section 5. The true meaning. This final act totally recontextualizes the whole story and forces us to look at why it resonates so powerfully across the globe.
Because as it turns out, true love isn't just about youthful passion or kissing in the rain. It's about commitment. It's staying right by someone's side when life gets impossibly hard. It's loving them with fierce loyalty even when time, age, and illness literally alter your entire reality. And honestly, that deep emotional hook is exactly why the critical reception is still so stellar today. Just look at how this builds on Bookiva Reviews. We're talking perfect 10s in emotional impact, romance, and reread value, near-perfect scores in storytelling and characters. It gets those rare numbers because it does more than entertain. It taps into our deepest, most universal desire for a love that can actually survive the absolute worst life throws our way.
Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. The Notebook shows us a love that defies societal rules, survives years apart, and ultimately goes toe-to-toe with the erasure of memory itself. So I gotta ask you, do you believe true love can actually last forever? Think about it. Thanks for hanging out with me on today's Explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.